Hey everybody, it is January 10th, Thursday, 2019. How we doing today? How we doing tonight? Wherever you are in this great big world, hope you're doing alright. So this is going to be kind of a punny episode, but I forgot to add spices and herbs to my offering video. I'm looking at you, white people. I'm looking at you. You need to use spices and herbs in your cooking. Everybody will thank you. I'm looking at you. Oh, don't bother looking for me. You're not going to find me. Just because you can't see me doesn't mean I can't see you. So you might want to stop what you're doing. Take yourself to the grocery store that's open 24 hours. Go to the spice aisle. Get you some spices and herbs. Spice your cooking up. Trust me. Everyone will thank you. I'm 75% white. The Latino blood in me makes damn sure I use spices in my cooking. Anyway, so spices and herbs as offerings. Now, I've talked about it before, but a refresher course is needed. I completely forgot all about this. When I had my moment of awesomeness yesterday, and I was giving offering, I saw my offering glass on my altar, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot spices. I forgot to add that in. So, here we are, part 2. Because I'm going to have to edit the title for the other one. So, part 2, spices and herbs. As well as a few things to consider. So, what should I use in terms of spices and herbs? Well, my girlfriend being the one threatening me with violence on this one, literally threatening me with violence, she said to use sweet spices, sweet herbs, things pleasant, like same thing with, sweet smelling incenses. When it comes to spices, nutmeg. They love nutmeg. If you don't have nutmeg, cinnamon. You can use cinnamon. And they love thyme for some reason. She said they love thyme. I don't know how that's considered sweet, but okay. But lemongrass, obviously. Peppermint, mint. And that's all that I can think about off the top of my head. If you know anything about herbs and spices, and I'm not talking about the kernel, but then you know what ones are the sweet, pleasant ones. Now, this is the one part where I'm going to have to emphasize you listen carefully. Just as she threatened to punch me in the face over and over in the car in broad daylight in a Target parking lot for everyone to see. You want to get a container to put your spices and herbs in when you offer it to them. It has to be glass. It can't be plastic. It can't be porcelain. It can't be paper. It has to be glass. You don't have to use that crystal, but just glass. Now you want to get a clear or a solid color. It can be anything. It could be a candy dish. It could be a drinking glass. Something you can put potpourri in. It could be an old salsa jar. You know, as long as it's 100% glass. Go to the dollar store and pick up a drinking glass for like $1.50. You know, you want to get something that's clear or solid clear, a solid color clear. It could be even a colored ashtray, like a glass ashtray. Like I got I got a couple of big ashtrays that are glass. One's like blue, one's like designed to look like a crystal, but it's not. You know, hell, a shot glass can work. You know. In fact, the one I use is a candle holder. So, as long as it's glass. Now, this is where she about broke my arm by punching me so hard. When you get a glass container, it has to be clean. It can't be dirty. It can't have spots. It can't have streaks. It has to be 100% clean and clear. Otherwise, it's offensive to them. You know, you don't want to go to somebody's house or to a fine eating establishment and they give you a dirty plate now. You wouldn't want that, would you? So you have to make sure it's properly clean and clear. Crystal clear. So this goes into this part that I also failed to mention. Now, I want to emphasize this is what I do. Okay? This is what me, William Hill, Karos, does. This is what I do. Because I'm in a position to where I can do it. But when it comes to leaving out your offerings, I'm going to include a video in the top left corner. Basically where that white lotus flower is on top. I'm going to include a friend of mine's video His name is DH Thorn. He recently made a video covering a bunch of topics and offerings and how long to keep them and what to do with them is one of those topics. So I'm going to include that video. But me being a loose cannon with renegade ways, this is what I do. Because again, I'm comfortable in a place where I can do it. So if you say, hey, that's a great idea, be sure you can. Because the last thing you need is bugs, vermin, like mice, rats, hobos. You don't want any of that. But when it comes to spices, for example, I've got cinnamon on my altar from fucking summer. Like June, maybe July. Because things like nutmeg and cinnamon, they don't really attract anything. They don't attract bugs, hobos, vermin, bees. They don't attract anything. So spices are relatively safe. It was during my week-long offering that I remembered I have that still full. I'm like, oh shit. But when you are done, when you feel like you are done, and you want to dispose of the spices, again, his video covers what you can do. What I personally do is I take the glass, I go outside, doesn't matter if it's raining or whatever, day or night, doesn't matter. I say my little prayer of saying, I return you back to the earth, so the earth and the gods may consume you. And then I wash out the glass, and I wait till I use it again. Now, when it comes to food, this is where, my brother Waylon, he made a video a while back. If I can remember the video specifically, I'll put it under DH Thorn's video, if I can remember it. I should. But when it comes to certain deities or stuff, because he talked about giving the 4 slayers or assassins in the 50 names an offering of meat. Now, if you put meat on an altar and just let it sit, it's going to smell pretty rancid. And not to mention, it's going to draw hobos, cooks, chefs. Guy Fieri's looking around. He's always lurking. Bugs. But mainly it's going to be the putrid smell in Guy Fieri. So, when it comes to meat, you want to give it like an hour or two or whatever. And then you want to take it, as he said, you want to take it far, far away from your home. Like, if you have to get in your car and drive somewhere, do it. Just make sure it's like in a clearing or whatever. Nobody's going to be like, hey, what you doing? You know? And just, return it back to the earth, and earth will take care of it. You know? Same thing with bread and honey, or fruit preservatives to put on said bread. You don't want to leave that out, because that will attract hobos and bugs and mice and vermin. So you want to be mindful of this, Now, personally, I just give regular bread. As I said in the last video, I don't have anything to put on it, so I just give them straight bread. I haven't had any problems with that. No bugs, no hobos, no rats or mice, nothing. Basically, I put the bread in a offering dish. This can be, anything as long as it's not plastic or paper. It can be anything. It's just that certain things, like the spices and herbs, have to be glass. Especially if you are offering libations, that has to be glass as well. But in terms of like offering food, that can be porcelain or whatever. So, yeah, I got like a little ceramic bowl that I put my bread in and give it on to my altar. And like I said, I really have had no problem, attracting shit that is going to cause problems. And you don't want to leave it up there for more than a week. You want to keep that shit at a week. That's what my girlfriend taught me. You want to keep... Actually, she taught me about the spices too, so take heed of that. Write down in your notes right now. No more than a week. I mean, if you want to leave it longer, or I should really say no less than a week. There we go. No less than a week. When it comes to spices and herbs. No less than a week. Since, spices and herbs don't really do anything. Bringing in vermin, you can leave that up there as long as you want. But in terms of bread, or what have you, no more than a week. Like I did last week. New Year's week. Of course I was keeping an eye on it too, so, helpful that. Because my roommate's got dogs, so. You want to make sure it's pet friendly to where pets ain't gonna get it. So, things like regular bread with nothing on it, no more than a week. Spices, no less than a week. So, when it comes to libations, I just leave it on my altar. When it comes to like water, wine, rum, when it comes to alcohol. And this is where you should be careful. Because I found out that flies love alcohol. They love beer. They love alcohol. It's the yeast in it that attracts them. And you know the term barfly? Yeah, that's where that came from. Or at least I think. Or at least this one article I read. We had flies like really bad this year in my area. I had it. My roommates, when they had their house, they had flies. My other neighbor, Mr. Henson, had flies. We had flies really bad this year. I don't know why. But we had them really bad. And I was looking up how to get rid of them. And beer. Alcohol. And I'm like, oh, well, my dumbass roommates left that behind. So I'll just use that. Well, they weren't really liking the beer too much. But when I poured rum, they were on that shit. They were like, hey, I like this. And I'm like, ugh, I can't drink this now. Thanks, flies, you ruined my drink. So, you want to be careful if you are offering alcohol. You want to be really careful about that. That may attract flies. So, and luckily, the wine on my altar was untouched. So, I really hadn't seen a fly in well, since late November. So late November is the last time I seen a fly. So, but I leave the liquids on the altar to to let it run its course. Let them consume the energy and let the laws of nature and evaporation, science, take care of, the rest, where it looks like they are drinking. So if anybody says that they have proof of, the gods drinking, their libations, tell them that they're a crock of shit. They're feeding off the energy of it. Mother Nature is evaporating it. So, I mean, if anybody's saying, oh my god, the gods are drinking this wine I gave them. No, that's Mother Nature drinking the wine by, evaporation. The gods themselves are feeding the energy. Feeding off the energy. When it comes to milk, again, my brother Waylon talked about this. When it comes to milk, like meat, milk can get pretty rancid real quick. So, same principle, leave it there for like an hour or less, and then go outside and return it to the earth. When I do offer milk, I close the ritual by going outside and returning it to the earth. And I say my little parting ways to end the ritual. Like, I give this offering back to the earth, so the earth may consume it, and the gods may consume it. So, Yeah, you want to be mindful. Like I said, if you're in a spot where bugs, hobos, Guy Fieri, uh, your animals, you know, won't get to it, uh, by all means, if it's just like plain bread. Now, you might want to keep an eye on the meat, but especially if you got like dogs and cats. Um, but if it's just like bread, it just turns into a giant crouton. So, I mean, it's not that bad. But again, Mr. Thorne's video at the top will go into, various other ways. This is just what I do. This is just what I do. So, and I've been having pretty good success. No bugs, no mice, no vermin, no nothing. But again, be careful if you use alcohol. So, with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed part 2. And, yeah. Questions, comments, concerns? Look in the description box for my links to where you can find me on social media. My brother's channels will be in the description as well. And I'll catch you all later. Love you all. Bye.